You enjoy podcasts. We know because you're listening to one. Hi, I'm Jason Falls, the executive producer of the Marketing Podcast Network. We love podcasts too, so much so that in addition to providing you with the great episode you're listening to, we also help businesses, brands, and even individuals produce their podcasts. MPN Studios offers podcast consulting and production services to help you get you or your business its very own podcast. We've helped dozens of smart people, advertising agencies, and brands develop podcasts. All you do is record your content or interview. We take that and deliver a professionally produced audio or video episode complete with show notes, transcriptions, and even promotional clips to use on social media. And our monthly subscription prices are hard to beat. If you or your company are jonesing to have your own podcast to establish thought leadership, drive business leads, or just have fun talking about your business or topic of choice, we'd love to help. Learn more at marketingpodcasts.net/studio. That's marketingpodcasts.net/studio.
Hello, I'm Ian Truscott. You may know me as the host of the Rockstar CMO Effing Marketing Podcast, but I'm here to share that we're kicking off the inaugural MPN Podcast Awards, which will be hosted by Gordon Glenister, podcaster, author, and the Don of influencer marketing. What say you, Gordon?
The Marketing Podcast Network is a community of marketers who podcast. And we thought it was high time to recognize the podcasts that we love, marketing podcasts. But these awards aren't just about the shows on our network. The MPN Awards are open to all marketing podcasts. And this is our chance to shine a light on the voices right across the entire marketing podcast community. So don't delay. Enter the MPN Awards.
You heard Gordon. Let us know your favorite marketing podcast and enter at mpn-awards.com or follow the Marketing Podcast Network on LinkedIn for all of our updates.
Welcome to Your Radiant Spirit, a space for the conversations and colors that help you see yourself more clearly. I'm Heather Eck, an intuitive artist and guide, and I believe your soul speaks in the ways the mind can't always put into words, through color, energy, and the stories your body holds. This show is where we explore those messages. Through personal stories, deep conversations, and creative insight, we'll uncover what's been hidden, release what no longer serves, and begin to imagine what's possible when you live in full alignment with who you're meant to be. What you hear here is more than inspiration, it's an opening, a chance to feel the shift that could change everything. So take a deep breath, open your heart, and let's step into today's conversation. Back before we begin, I want to share something with you. If we haven't met over on Instagram, I would love to see you over there. It's where I share my current artwork. It's where I talk all about color, and it's a really great, intimate way to connect with me over there because when you message me the word color over on Instagram at Heather Eck Artist, I will gift you a complimentary what I call a laser color reading. It's a short intuitive session where I tune into the colors of your energy and share what your system is communicating. There's nothing that you need to do. You just need to have curiosity and an open heart. So if you feel even the faintest nudge of yes when I say that, this is your sign to open up Instagram, DM me at Heather Eck Artist with the word color, and we'll start there. My guest today is Laura Reichert. She's a dear friend of mine and a wonderful spirit. She's an ICF-certified life and career coach with over 10 years of experience and more than 85-star Google reviews. You're going to love her energy. She helps millennial women navigating the beautiful, exhausting, identity-shifting season she calls, quote, baby mode, figuring out how to be a mom, a professional, a partner, and themselves all at the same time. She's also the founder of Triangle Coaching Academy, an ICF Level 1 certified training program that teaches coaches to work from the inside out, rooted in emotional intelligence and real personal transformation. What I love about Laura is that she teaches from lived experience. She doesn't ask her clients to do what she hasn't done herself, which I know to be 100% true. And the framework she comes back to again and again, the 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, a deceptively simple but profoundly life-changing energy. Laura is a beautiful, wonderful, radiant spirit. She sits in blues and yellows. They support her throat, they support her sense of identity. I'm so excited for you to listen to this episode today. Enjoy. Laura, thank you so much for agreeing to be on the show. I'm so happy to see you today.
Thanks so much. I've been wanting to get on your show. Here I am, finally.
Well, I appreciate it. You and I know each other. We met years ago, actually, when I went through my coach training. I want to say like 2016, 2017. So it's been a while. And we've been through so much together. I know your story and I love your story, but can you share with the listeners who you are and what led you down the path of coaching and what kind of work do you do today?
So, as you know, I'm Laura Reichert, and my company is Triangle Life Coaching. And I became a life coach because people would tell me things. And my best friend, Janet, who's still my best friend, Janet Yilmaz, she was like, "What's happening?" I'd be at Target, you know how they say, "Hey, how are you?" And I'd be like, "Good, how are you?" They would literally tell me how they were in detail. And she's like, "What's happening? Why are people telling you this?" I don't know. And she said, "You should become a life coach." And I didn't even know what it was. I was like, "What is even a life coach?" So I did some Googling at the time and I was like, "Yeah, whatever," and went on with my life. And then I went to this beach house, and this very old woman, she was in her 70s, and not that that's old anymore, but for me, and she needed help. She had arthritis. She needed help carrying these big things of water up. So Janet was with me again. And I was like, "All right, let's help her." Carried it up and started to talk to this woman. And she was a life coach. This was 10 years ago.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
I know, I get the chills when I even say that, which means truth, right? And I looked at Janet and we were like, "What? You're that old and life coach?" So we sat down, we were like, "Tell us all about it." Right? She told us all about it. And she's like, "I have all this information in my storage unit. I'd be happy to share with you. All of this papers, information." So she went and got it for me a couple of days later, and I went home away from the beach and I started to look through it and started looking for a coaching school. And my goal was to have something reputable. I'm very much about the credential, although you don't have to be, right? It's okay. You could be a coach of any type and you do not have to get credentialed and still do beautiful work. But I wanted to be regulated. I wanted to have cred behind my name.
Mhm.
So I looked for a school that was International Coaching Federation accredited, which I found our teacher, and Kathleen, who I think has been on your podcast.
Mhm.
Took me about 8 months to kind of pay that money and put in and feel like this was something. And I did, and I went through it. And the first day that I came home after my class, I walked in. My family was like, "How did it go?" And I said, "I will be a faculty member there someday."
Oh my gosh.
I knew. And I finished the program and I was all in, and I worked with her and so many other wonderful people in that business. And I became a faculty member. I got my first level 1 ACC within a year. I was just so driven. It was definitely meant to be. So, and then I just started my business and I did a whole bunch of stuff on radio and I worked for big companies. When you get accredited, and ICF is not the only one, but when you get accredited, you have an opportunity to work for companies, do executive coaching, leadership coaching. When you don't have the credential behind you, companies are not going to hire you or pay you because they have no backup, no way to say to the board, "Oh, but these people are accredited. We can pay them all this money."
Yeah.
So that was my journey. It was the best.
Amazing. And that's where you and I met, that very first weekend that I went in. You were the contributing alumni in my program
I
and then went on to
was.
become faculty, which is awesome. And what I loved about meeting you was how driven you were. Like you said, you were so in and present and so focused on, "I'm going to get this, I've got this." And you, I felt, immediately knew your style, and you immediately sort of I wouldn't say sort of, you authentically lead with that style, which I think is so wonderfully, I'll use the word direct, but not in a negative way, in a like straightforward, no BS, let me tell it to you straight. And I'm always going to tell you the truth. And I love that about you. I love that about you. And
Thanks. Yeah, I've been told I'm lovingly direct,
lovingly direct.
right?
Yes.
And you know what, Heather? You were such a learning experience for me. And I'm not just saying that because I'm here with you today. But when I was doing that day, they asked me to do an example of coaching at the front.
I remember this.
And I said to one of the other faculty members that morning, I'm going to screw up. I'm going to totally screw up. And I said it to Marceletta, I'm totally going to screw up. And she didn't say anything to me, went on. I had to then during the course come up, and you were going to be my client. And I sat in front of you, and I didn't want to do coaching around health.
And what was mine?
Right out of your mouth was about health. And my whole body froze, because now I'm trying to show up as this contributing alumni, faculty member in training, and I'm full class. And I'm like, my whole body just froze. And I was like, I lost myself. The coaching went out the window. And I don't know what I was doing, wasn't following any code of ethics, any core competencies. And I remember Kathleen like jumping out of her seat, running up, like, no, stop. I was
I
like,
remember this. Yes.
shoot, like, okay. So you know what? I think it's just my core. I said to myself, okay, everybody, what a great opportunity.
Yeah.
What a great opportunity to see what not to do. And I'm going to tell you all what just happened to me. Right. And I was like, this was not planned. I froze. Right. And then we had a great opportunity to share with everybody on what to do in that moment.
Yeah.
So it was really a blessing, so much so. But I could have cried, or I could have been like, I suck. And even then, I was learning to change my mindset. I just think it was so part of my core.
Mm-hmm.
But the best part of this whole story for me was at the end of the day, all the faculty get together and we talk about our day and the students and what's happening. And I said, I just want to apologize that I screwed up today. And Marceletta turned and looked at me. She goes, I'm not surprised. And I was a little like, what? She goes, well, you said it. You said you were going to screw up. How were you not ever going to screw up? It's just energetically you put it out there. It comes into form. And I'm having chills again. And I was like, oh my God, I did that. What? I mean, double lesson, right? I spoke,
Yeah.
but normally somebody would say that so they protect themselves. Oh, I'm just going to mess up, so I'm just going to be prepared, right? And I did. Well, I mean, and now I realize moving forward and even helping clients, right? Be impeccable with your words, because otherwise it comes to form in some way or shape.
That's so true. And thank you for letting me be a party to the lesson. I'm sure there were many, many more that I even participated in throughout that whole learning. I think the thing that was the most powerful about that training for me was the authenticity and the vulnerability that came out of those kinds of conversations where, and I'm sure you know this with your clients too, where if a mistake is made, you could easily just be like, oh, well, whatever. But I love the way that you just told the story of, I owned it. I walked into it. I talked about it, and I even in the regroup with the faculty at the end were able to say like, yeah, okay, that was an oops, but I learned from it, and here's what I'm going to do going forward. Like just even learning how to take responsibility for yourself is huge, and that's such a powerful shift in thinking that I
It
think you
truly
pick up
is.
from that.
I mean, Heather, we all have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I could have taken it down a road of embarrassment. I'm never going to do this again. And I chose to go the other way, because we do get to choose. And what a better feeling, right? Even if there were students in that classroom who were like, boy, she doesn't know what she's doing. That wasn't about me. That was about their own insecurities, right? It didn't matter. I knew what I needed to feel to get through that and
Mm-hmm.
create something in a learning. And that's what I did. I get to choose. Doesn't matter what about, because I'm the one who's going to feel, I'm the one who's going to experience. And I made a choice, and that was the choice I made.
Yeah. Yeah. So good. That's so good. What was the thing that changed for you after that first weekend of your own coach training? Like, what did you leave that session with that you have just carried with you through to this day?
After my first weekend or the first day?
I would say like your first weekend of training.
First weekend of training, I felt like, I know this might sounds kind of cliche, but I kind of felt like home.
Mm,
I kind of felt a peacefulness. It just resonated, and it just was like, wow, like it just in heart,
hmm.
right? I was just like, whoa, this is me. This is great. This is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. And, I know you know a lot about my past, and I feel like I've lived a million lives. I've been homeless twice. I everybody has their story. So I'm not saying my story is any grandiose so than anybody else, but difficult parents, both alcoholics, like it's been interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was a bully, right? I was a physical bully, but that's what was happening to me at home. And the reason I'm bringing this up, as you say that about the first weekend, was when I went into high school, I had some kind of aha moment that you don't hit people. Like you don't mean to people. I don't know what, something came over me. And almost from that moment on, I was this kind of goody two shoe that my sisters, who were still kind of struggling in their own way, would make fun of me because I'd be like, everything's great. Even when I was homeless at 16, it's just great. And they're like, great, great. Everything's so great. I think even back then I was showing signs of this type of work and, not striving and let it show up when it can. It did manifest into this life coaching. And here I am. So I feel like it's just that weekend was just kind of put everything together for me, tied it all up.
I get that. And so so thank you for sharing that too, because I know you probably don't want to go into all of that detail here on the podcast, but I think you do have such an interesting upbringing and the things that you experienced that you could have gone down a completely different path. You could have let life lead you down a totally different direction. But you came to this, opportunity, and God bless Janet too, who said to you, Laura, something's happening here. People are drawn to you. They're telling you things. They're spilling their guts at Target. Like, there's something magnetic about your energy that you have the ability to hold space for people and also to be lovingly direct with them and help to kind of say like, hey, if you're going down this path, this might not be the right thing for you. Let's figure this out. So what's your approach when you work with clients to help them see themselves in a different way? Because I think that's one of your gifts, is to point out what's possible for them.
Well, thank you for that. That was so sweet. Yeah. Well, my approach working with clients, no matter what the situation is all about your mindset and your emotional intelligence. So I'm all rooted in that because your emotional intelligence is about your reactiveness and how you manage your emotions while you're managing the emotions of others. And how do you do that is by backing back into yourself of how I'm managing me and how I'm reacting to what's happening in front of me. So I just approach every client, of course, with beginner's mind, as we're taught, and do reframing. So I love the book, The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Every single student that goes to my academy has to read that book. Most of all my clients have read it because the first agreement is be impeccable with your words. Right. So I approach things as when they're talking and saying things to me, and then I pause and give them a minute. I have them go back and say, well, I hear you saying that, just like I said I was going to screw up that day. Same kind of thing, right? Well, what if you were to change the way you say that? Maybe you don't screw it up because that sounds terrible. How about if we change it like, you know what, we can have a hiccup, right? So beginning to get them to hear themselves say things differently, to start changing their mindset so that they're not so reactive. Because if I'm screwing things up, I'm in an aggravated state, right? And then moving down that road. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense.
Yeah. So it's just about mindset shifting.
And that's what you teach now in your academy with your own students today, is emotional intelligence. Tell us about that kind of work and how that changes people.
So once again, I had this energetic passion to create my own academy, right? Not that Kathleen's isn't the greatest. Everybody's academies does their own thing. And I did, and I created this curriculum. So if people who want to become a coach, no matter what kind of coach they want to become, or some therapists want to have coaching now, right? They're like, I just need to, or some people need continued education. And I think they want to come back and learn coaching rooted in emotional intelligence, right? So I have the students share their thing. We have our books and I teach them how to shift their mindset first. So it's almost like a transformation for themselves, right? Because if you cannot experience this transformation, how are you going to help somebody else experience the transformation, right? So, we have them go through this transformation and then incorporates all the core competencies and code of ethics as they're transforming. Because some students will say, well, I got to memorize these things. I said, oh no, as you're transforming yourself, you're going to understand, you're just going to naturally use them. Does that make sense?
Yep.
That's how I kind of incorporate, that's how I approach them and help people who want to become a accredited coach. But some are like, I just want to learn these skills. Like,
Yeah.
I want to manage better. I want to be a better leader. I want to be a better executive. So even in companies, I'll go in and either they come through my program or I can go in personally for them and put them through this program without the additional mentoring that you would need to be accredited. And then they have all the tools that they need and they can always stay in touch with me, yada, yada, yada. Yeah. So I just love that we can begin to reimagine life, right? Even in corporate. So really quick, I'll tell you, I had gotten a gig with this big bank. I won't say which one at this moment. And I went in and had an interview and I said, well, I'm going to help this sales team, but I'm also going to help with their personal stuff. Right. And this woman said to me, nope, 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 not going to do it. Not my digs. If I'm paying you and this company's paying you, you're going to just work on business. And I said to her, well, then I'm not your person, because if you think for 1 second that all of their personal stuff isn't bleeding into their job as their job bleeds into the personal stuff, you're mistaken. I can't help them. I cannot, we have to well-roundedly help them. Like, I never even considered that. And she hired me. And I'm telling you, it was beautiful. It worked out really, really well.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so this program is about becoming a coach or having a transformation or being a better leader or executive, but it's being a leader of your life, right? Because we talked about your friend who does that, being a leader of your life. And I really think that newlyweds could really use this class, right? I wish everybody would like chip in and send them because it teaches such great communication skills.
Yeah, I think that's so true. I mean, you touched on the Four Agreements book, which, if the listeners are not familiar, can you give them a quick overview of the book and the agreements?
Yeah. So the first agreement is being impeccable with your words, because everything you say and think, as I explained before, becomes into some kind of form where you believe that, or just even being hurtful to somebody, right? The second one is don't take things personally. And what you have to understand, which is hard for a lot of people to understand, is that nothing that anyone says to you is ever about you. You cannot ever take anything personally, even when it's a compliment. So even if I said, oh my gosh, I love that shirt on you today, Heather, you may think to yourself, how could she say that? I hate the shirt. It's my worst shirt. Because it's through my lens. That's why you can never take anything personally. You don't know what they're experiencing and how they're giving it back to you. The third one is don't make assumptions, right? So what is the story you're making up? So I tell my clients and my students, if you can't take that assumption, that story to Judge Judy, and she doesn't throw you out of the courtroom, then it's a truth and you can abide by it. Otherwise, you have to ask questions, right? Because assumptions can really be painful for you. You walk away with these assumptions and you're in all this pain and discomfort. And then the last one is being impeccable with your word. Not being impeccable, doing your best. The last one is do your best, because your best looks different every single time. So I can clean my bathroom myself and it can be, oh my God, amazing. And then maybe I'm not feeling as well. Maybe it's that time of the month. And I work just as hard to clean that bathroom, but it doesn't look the same. I can be okay with that because I know I did my best. So no matter what job you're doing, as long as you always do your best, you can feel that you can sleep well at night. So those are his four agreements, not mine.
But you embody them. You
Oh yeah,
embody them so much. Yeah.
absolutely.
And I think those are like the root of, they are like very strong roots of a tree of emotional intelligence, if you really think about it, right?
Yeah. You use them.
Yeah.
What's
Those,
your favorite one?
I was just thinking about that because I love the be impeccable with your word, but I think I always refer back to your Judge Judy example because I think, an easy example for that would be you send a message to somebody, you don't hear back for them for days and days and days, and you're like, oh my God, I must have pissed them off. They are so upset with me. Things are out of control. Look what I did. I ruined this relationship. And you can spiral down this dark, dark path. But maybe the truth is that they dropped their phone in the toilet and they just haven't gotten a new one yet, right? Like, so I loved when you shared that Judge Judy example with me, because I often have to check myself and I will say out loud, is this something that I know to be true, or is this a story that I'm telling myself? And that's a game changer for people when you can actively embody that. You save yourself a lot of stress and anxiety and worry. Um, so I think that's probably my favorite.
And listen to how your mindset shifted too. Well, maybe they dropped their phone in the toilet. And you know what? Maybe they did ignore you. But why do you have to sit in that pissed off feeling? You can
Right.
ask later and understand why they did. Maybe kind of figure out what happened there for both of you,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
It's just it's so incredible if you just take a moment, which is the emotional intelligence is not being reactive. You
Mm-hmm.
feel your body. So when your body gets reactive emotionally, you get 1,000 thoughts. So people will, I'll say, well, where do you feel that? Oh, in my head. I'm like, well, you're thinking, right? And even Kathleen taught us, drop into your heart. So when if you're going to get stressed about something, you don't even realize your body's reacting. You're already starting to think all of these thoughts. So if
Yep.
we just slow down for a minute, walk away, go into the bathroom, take a breath, go, I'm not okay. I need to walk away. What's happening? What's the truth here? You
Yep.
really save yourself you a lot of heartache. You're not responsible for everybody else. You're just responsible for yourself. And you don't have to feel selfish about that either. Just saying.
Yeah, that's so true. How have you seen how have you seen these four agreements support your clients in their own transformation? Like what have you observed as changing for them?
I think in business, especially taking things personally, and I guess meshing with the assumptions, because I get a lot of, yeah, I walked in the office and, Heather looked up at me and looked down and I could just tell she was annoyed and it must have been something I did. And she's just such a bitch. Anyway, right? And I'll say, okay, well, I hear that your feelings were hurt when you walked in. You made an assumption around what could possibly be you. I'm not sure what's happening for you and thinking, or what you did. Maybe she didn't do something that was her best, that she's thinking now it's reflecting back, right? But why don't we take a moment and think about what's happening to your boss? Maybe something happened at home on the drive. Maybe she's sick. Maybe there's an illness in the family and she's just not herself, even if she is being a little bit of a biatch, right?
Mm-hmm.
How can we have compassion for her and not take it on as it's us you know, and they just like, I never thought to think about what's happening for them. I'm just thinking about myself,
Yeah.
right? And it just pains you even more to think that they're not being nice to you.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Was that clear?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's so true. And I think back to like when I went through my own coach training, what changed for me. I think as the coach, I want to hear you talk about this too for the students that go through your academy. You as when you're going through that training, you are embodying all of these new ways of being that are centered around seeing things differently, different perspectives, patience, non-judging, beginner's mind, all of these things that sort of take you out of the space of the ego and put you into a space of just sort of giving everybody grace, including yourself, to understand that we're all going through something and that really truly at the heart of it, none of us really have bad intentions. All of us are just trying to kind of make it through the day. And that's such a powerful shift for people. And I think that example that you just shared is so important because I think we can get so caught up in thinking that everything that everybody does is a personal assault. And truly, we're all just trying to get to work on time. And we're all just trying to read our emails. And we're all just trying to, live the best life that we can without intentionally being a butthead to somebody else most of the time.
Beautifully said, for sure, as you're reciting some of the 7 attitudes of mindfulness. So I think there is 8 or 9 now, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's so true. Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing.
It is. What has changed in your life since you've become a coach and have gotten to work with hundreds of clients to help them see their own transformation?
Well, my gosh, as you're sitting with I'm almost an MCC, I almost have my 2,500 hours, and going through all of that, you see yourself in every single person,
Mm,
right? It's so funny how the universe or God or wherever your beliefs are brings you exactly what you needed that week, right? And I'll get somebody and I'll be like, oh, damn, right? And it makes me reflect back to myself. Of course, I have to get out of my mind, come back to them, and it happens, right? I'm like, oof, all right, I just need to come back to them, and asking them these open-ended questions to help them get to a lower and deeper part of what's happening for them. Not just that my boss looked at me and I thought it was about me. Something's happening for that person as well, right? So like I said, maybe it was something they did and they didn't fess up to it and they underlying think the boss knows, yada, yada, yada. So for me, every single time I'm learning something new about myself because, I learned something new today. Great. Right. So I can read the Don Miguel book. I can read the 4 Agreements all day long. And then we need to bridge the gap from the book to making it happen.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the little things that happen with every client. And when I see and I think about for myself, I reflect, meditate on it afterwards and be like, wow, why is this coming to me today? And what can I learn from it? Because I'm just a human being doing my best, right? I'm no better than anybody else listening. No better. I just know a little more information about something that you don't know, and you know a little more information about something that I don't know. So it just, Marianne Williamson says it so beautifully. She says, we are just one big ocean, right? But if we sit in, I'm just one wave, how lonely and scared are we? Just being one wave in this huge ocean. But if we say, I am just part of this big, beautiful ocean, we just are all in it together. Just feels so much more like you're not just one beam of light from the sun. You are part of the sun with everyone else. It's just, knowing that I'm just a human helping somebody else and learning from it.
Yeah. And that's such a gift too. I think that's so true. Every single client that I encounter with a spirit portrait, part of their healing is part of their portrait, and what comes through is just as healing for me as it is for them, because I'm
Oh,
always blessed with a lesson from it,
I just have to share with one of your people that
Yeah.
are listening that Heather comes on the last day, the last day in the afternoon of the academy and does a spirit portrait for every single one of the students is my gift. And I've now learned that when Heather comes, she must come the last hour, not during lunch. Because, and honestly, it is so impactful, her work with them, that we no longer are in class. Like they are either shedding tears of joy or they need to just, they're like, I need to just go somewhere and sit on this now. And they're just staring at their portrait and what it means to them. It is true. I'm not lying, like truly transformational that I've got to move her. I just told her this the other day. I was like, we cannot do this at lunch anymore because I lose them for the rest of the afternoon because it's so impactful. It's just amazing.
Well, thank you for saying that.
Yeah, it's just pretty incredible.
Thank you for believing in me and having me come in, because I think, one of the things about coaching, I think the misconceptions about coaching now are that the market is saturated. There are so many coaches out there. People are, there are just so many. Nowadays, you can find a coach for anything. Like you said, there are coaches who are credentialed or uncredentialed or what have you. But a lot of people will go through the coach training just to learn more about themselves and just to understand themselves better, because I think that's one of the things that, the podcast is called Your Radiant Spirit, that if you are actively working on living your life the best way that you can each day, you're doing awesome. You're doing awesome. And so many of us, I think, are trying to just make it through, right? Like doing our best and trying to show up for each other. What is something about coaching that you wish more people understood, as they're listening to us talk about it and the way that it's changed us?
Yeah. I think people just cheap out on their life. Right? If
Mm.
I get, and I'm always completely honest, if I get a male who comes on and they say, I'm thinking about this sign right up. If I get a woman, they'll be like, well, I'm not sure, and then just, or is it too much or isn't too much? How much am I going to pay? And I think, and what it brings me to is the mattress, this analogy about the mattress. So
Okay.
I just know people when at least for me, when I go to buy a mattress, I'm like, oh my gosh, like $5,000 for a mattress, not spending $8,000 on a mattress. I use that mattress every single day of my life for 8+ hours and I'm cheaping out. And then I take it home and I don't love it. And then I stay in it. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to get anything else now. I just spent and I sleep on this mattress every night and I'm uncomfortable. And it's like, what am I doing? Don't cheap out on your life, right?
Mm.
If you have some skills that you want to hone in on, don't cheap out. Get the program that fits you best. Don't get the program that's like, well, you're going to get this for this. Get the one that's really going to change your life for what you're looking to change it in, because it's a rippling effect. Let me tell you, when you change, the people around you start changing. No kidding, and I'm not doing this just to pat myself on the back, because I'm sure all coaches or trainers out there have experienced this, is the client changes. They get a little brighter. And I have people come to me who say to me, I've had my friends come to me and ask me if I've like changed my hair or if I'm doing something different with my makeup. Like I just look different. And I go, of course, your whole body's different, because you're grabbing the soul of the authenticity and it's coming out. So your face isn't frowning, your shoulders aren't high. And then you start using these new ways of being with everybody. And they're like, oh, I never thought of that. Think about your children, right? You then start using it with these young children so early on. When they start with me, I go, oh, honey, you don't know, this is going to help you not only with yourself, but with your whole family. You're going to start being able to teach them these new ways of being. It's just beautiful all the way around.
Oh my gosh, Laura, yes. Just yesterday, a friend of mine, she has two little boys, they're starting middle school, and my son is in his second year of middle school. So he's like the old pro, right?
Yeah.
One of them was crying and about his schedule and his friends, and I said, well, let's put him on the phone with my son and let's see if he can shed some light on it. So what you just reminded me of is when you change so much, the people around you change. And my son got on the call last night. And the first thing he said was, hey, I heard you have a little bit of worry about school. What are you most concerned about? What scares you the most? And I sat
Little
there
coach.
and I got tears in my eyes and I went, this little freaking coach is so emotionally intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
I think because when I went through my coach training, I brought that home immediately. Like my life changed from that first weekend. And I think when you start to actively use the things that you learn from your coach or from your own training or just from people around you who are rooted in mindfulness and emotional intelligence and authenticity and vulnerability, it is a ripple effect. It 100% is.
It's,
100%.
I think when you're saying that to me, what comes up for me is we work a lot on shoulding, like shoulding all over yourself. I should,
Yep.
should. And I say to somebody, you should or you want to, right? So I really should brush my teeth at night when I go to bed. Well, you should, but why do you do it? Well, because I don't want to have a lot of cavities or I want to have fresh mouth. But sometimes we can't. If we're tired, we miss it and then we forget things like, but if you remove the should and ask yourself, what do I really want? Right? I really do want to brush my teeth. It feels different, right? So we do a lot of the shoulding. So when I see a client the next time and they go to do should, their awareness goes, oh, wait, I don't mean should. Do I really want to? Like they're already starting to shift, right?
Yeah.
And that's my lovingly being direct. Not that they're in trouble if they say should, but they're starting to shift already. And just so everybody knows, 50% of any journey is awareness. 50%. So if you're already aware that you need help and you want to change certain things, you are 50% almost there. Because once you're aware of it, the change comes so quickly.
Yep.
So interesting, isn't it?
It's fascinating. Yeah. I think of it like the glass shattering moment, right? Like once you're aware of it, you can't unsee it. You can't unring the bell. You're like, well, now that I know, I got to do something about it, right?
Just like your son. And what did he
Yeah.
do? He's now speaking in ways that is going to help somebody else, right? Without judgment, without giving advice. Well, I know what you should do. You shouldn't think that way. Should. You can think this, you can think that. How can anybody take advice from anyone else? We can take suggestions all day long, but my advice is through my lens, through my experiences. Even if you have a twin, identical twin, right? You're still going to have different experiences. You're still going to be viewing that candle in a different angle, in a different way. We can't give advice. We can suggest. Because then if I give you advice, Heather, and you don't listen, I'm going to be like, well, she don't listen to me. So good for her. Let her suffer. Right?
Yeah.
She's not listening to my advice. Stop giving advice. Ask people, would you like for me to suggestion about what I do? I'd be sure to share. And then they don't feel so compelled to have to do what you said. And they might say, you know what, that just doesn't feel right for me. I'm not going
Yep.
to be like, well, then I'm never telling you another thing. That's what happens, right?
It's so true.
Yeah, it's like enough of this, enough
Yeah.
of I'm right, you're wrong. Listen, we're all humans seeing life differently, right? We just don't know what you experienced before you walked into that room that has changed your perspective. How can I tell you anything different?
Yeah.
Just love yourself through it.
Love yourself through it. I love that. And you're right. I think you try to give somebody unsolicited advice that might not resonate with them. They don't follow it. You get mad. They don't do it. They're still without direction. But when I think coaching is so beautiful and powerful because you're handing someone the opportunity to actually arrive at what feels good to them with your support
Right.
and,
And at their own time.
and at their own time. Yeah.
It's so beautiful. For example, my daughter, one of them, Christy Lee, she's a magnificent artist, right? And she can play the piano, just hearing a song she can play, but she don't want to do that. I'm like, oh my gosh, you should take the piano, do the art. Oh my gosh, you'd be so great. She's like, no, I want to be English. I want to do English writing stuff. And I'm like, English writing. I was all like, oh man, like you have these beautiful gifts. And still to this day, she's like, yeah, no, I great. I can do it all day long. Easy for her. So easy. Right. But
Yeah.
nope, that's what I do. And allowing people to just step into their own authenticity instead of saying, nope, you're going to the art school at Chapel Hill. Nope.
Yep.
And then they're just a problem. I don't know where that came from, but I shared it. Maybe somebody needed to hear it.
Yep. Yep. 100%. 100%. Well, Laura, I could talk to you forever and ever, but I'm cognizant of your time and I know you're busy. Can you tell us where can people find you online to work with you and how can they get involved with your academy too?
So they can find me at trianglelifecoaching.com or trianglelifecoachingacademy.com. And I suggest that you want to have a discussion with me first. You want to have a conversation with me first before you pay anybody money to do any kind of coaching. It is very important you have a conversation with them because
Mhm.
first of all, you want to make sure they're a good fit. And am I going to pressure you? You got to sign up right now. If you don't sign up right now, you're not going to get the deal. Like, no, there's no pressure. There's no sign up deal, right? I do want to make money just as much as anybody, but I want you to feel the connection with me because if you don't, you're not going to have a transformation. You're not going to leave me a 5-star Google review, right? So yeah, just, sometimes these websites can be overwhelming with a lot of information you don't understand. Make sure that you're getting some discovery calls and seeing how they approach it and if they feel like an authentic good fit for you so that you're getting your money's worth.
Mhm. For sure. And you've got the academy where you invite people in to get credentialed in coaching that applies towards ICF as well, right?
That's right. Level 1, level 2, level 3. Or if you don't want to get credentialed and you just want to have the experience, you can do that as well. It's just a little cheaper.
Amazing. Well,
Yeah.
I know that initially when I was in human resources, I thought that coaching was going to support my job, and it absolutely did. But I never expected my coach training to take me down the path that it's taken me. And I never expected that when you and I met in 2017, that you would have launched your own academy. So, I mean, it's amazing to see where this kind of work and this, that, like you said, not cheaping out on yourself, like investing in yourself, investing in your development, investing in your life can yield really, really incredible results.
It really can. It's been such a trying journey as it always is. There's a lot of imposter syndrome that comes in, as as
Mhm.
an artist. I mean, but that's the gift is, plowing through those feelings and learning so that you grow as a person and you get stronger. You really do. But it's a challenge and life's always going to be a challenge. So just take a deep breath and decide where you want to move and take a slow range there. And every step you take is always a move forward. It always is, even in the smallest amount. So just give yourself grace. And if you feel like you want to coach, you can, look for me. If you want to go through academy, somebody who wants to be a coach or learn how to be a coach or just live their life like that. There's my academy and there's several others that you can choose from. So just do what's in your heart.
Mhm. I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here today, Laura.
Thanks for
I've
having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I've loved chatting with you, and I'm sure we'll get together again soon.
Of course. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining me today on Your Radiant Spirit. Every conversation here is an invitation to go beyond the surface, to listen to what your soul has been whispering, and to step into the life you've been longing for. If you're ready to go deeper, to work in a way that's personal, creative, and profoundly transformative, you'll find ways to connect with me in the show notes. Whether it's through art, a guided session, or a fully immersive journey, you'll discover a space where your truth is seen and your next chapter begins. If this episode spoke to you, it would mean the world if you shared it with a friend, left a review, or subscribed so more people can discover the conversations we have here. Until next time, my friend, keep noticing the colors, the moments, and the nudges. They're all leading you home. And for now, take a breath, hold on to what resonated, and carry it with you into the rest of your day. Thanks for listening.
You may know you're listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? Heather Eck hosts an amazing show called Your Radiant Spirit. Heather, tell listeners about the show.
What if the colors you're drawn to, the creative urges you ignore, and the quiet intuitive hits you brush off are actually trying to tell you something? Your Radiant Spirit is the podcast that helps you listen and live with greater clarity and purpose.
And where can people subscribe?
You can find and subscribe at heathereck.com/yourradiantspirit on marketingpodcast.net or search for it wherever you get your podcasts.
You heard her. Go subscribe. This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.